power flickered, and her office clock reset itself. What she didn't expect was the scratching at her clinic's front door. At first, Alice thought it was a branch scraping against the glass. The wind was fierce enough. But then she heard it again, deliberate, rhythmic, desperate. She set down her coffee and walked through the darkened waiting room, her footsteps echoing off the tile floor. Through the rain-streaked window, she saw them.
Eyes.
Yellow, luminous, locked directly on hers. Alice had grown up in these mountains. She knew the difference between dog eyes and wolf eyes. These were definitely wolf. But there was something else in that gaze, something that made her hand freeze on the deadbolt. Intelligence. Human intelligence. And more than that, authority. Even wounded and desperate, this creature radiated power. "Okay, Alice," she whispered to herself. "This is officially the stupidest thing you've ever done." She opened the door. The wolf collapsed across the threshold, its massive body hitting the floor with a wet, heavy thud. Rain had matted its dark gray fur into streaks, and even in the dim light, Alice could see the blood. So much blood. Her training kicked in immediately. She grabbed the wolf by its scruff and the base of its tail. God, it had to weigh at least 200 pounds, and hauled it toward the examination room. The wolf didn't resist, didn't even growl. It just looked at her with those impossibly aware eyes and whimpered. That whimper sounded almost like a word.
"Please."
Okay, I've got you," Alice said, already pulling on gloves and gathering supplies. "Let's see what we're dealing with here." 3 gunshot wounds. Alice's stomach turned as she examined them. The entry wounds were small, precise. Someone had aimed to kill. 2 bullets had gone clean through, but the third was lodged deep in the wolf's left shoulder. When she probed it with her forceps, the wolf's entire body went rigid. "I know, I'm sorry," she murmured. "I need to get this out, or you'll develop sepsis." The wolf's eyes never left her face. And here's the thing that kept disturbing Alice as she worked. When she heard him, he didn't snap or snarl. He just breathed, long and controlled, the way a person might breathe through pain. The way a leader might, she thought suddenly. Someone used to enduring, without showing weakness. The bullet came out wrong. The metal was a strange silver color, and it had burned the tissue around it in a way she'd never seen before. Alice dropped it into a steel tray, where it clinked with an almost musical sound. The wolf's reaction was immediate. Its eyes widened, and its whole body relaxed, as if some terrible pressure had been released. "Silver," Alice said slowly. "Someone shot you with silver bullets." The wolf blinked once. Deliberately. Alice felt the hairs rise on the back of her neck. She'd heard the stories, of course. Everyone in the mountains had. But stories were supposed to stay stories. "You're not just a wolf, are you?" Another deliberate blink. Alice sat back on her heels, staring at the creature before her. A werewolf. An actual werewolf bleeding on her examination table at 2 a.m. She should have been terrified. She should have been calling, who? Animal control? The police? A priest? Instead, she found herself asking, "Can you shift back?" Into human form. The wolf's eyes filled with something that looked heartbreakingly like grief. It shook its head, a purely human gesture, and then let out a low, mournful sound that seemed to echo with more than just physical pain. It was the sound of someone who'd lost everything. "You're stuck," Alice whispered. "Oh God, you're trapped like this." The wolf closed its eyes. Alice made a decision that would change her life forever. "Okay, then we do this the hard way. I'm going to clean these wounds, give you antibiotics, and set you up in the recovery room. And tomorrow, we figure out why you can't shift back." She worked for another 2 hours. The wolf, she couldn't keep thinking of it as it, remained perfectly still, even when she stitched the worst of the wounds. Occasionally, a low whine would escape, but he never once tried to bite her. "You're the best patient I've ever had," Alice said as she wrapped his shoulder in gauze. "Most dogs would have bitten me 3 times by now." The wolf huffed. Was that a laugh? And the sound was so unexpectedly human that Alice smiled despite everything. When she finally got him settled in the large recovery kennel in her back room, dawn was breaking through the windows. The wolf watched her with those intelligent yellow eyes as she brought him water and food.
Try to eat something, she said.
You need to keep your strength up. He didn't touch the food. Okay, stubborn, Alice said, pulling up a chair. How about this? I'll sit with you while you eat. The moment she sat down, the wolf ate. Slowly, carefully, but he ate. And Alice understood something crucial. He wasn't just wounded in body. He was alone, probably terrified, and he needed to know someone cared. I'm going to call you Irm Storm, she said softly, because you showed up at my clinic door like one. Is that okay? The wolf looked at her for a long moment, then lowered his head to rest on his paws. His eyes drifted closed, and for the first time since he'd arrived, he seemed to relax. Alice sat there watching him sleep as the sun came up. She had a full day of appointments ahead of her, no sleep, and a werewolf in her recovery room. What the hell have I gotten myself into? She whispered. The wolf ear twitched, but he didn't open his eyes. And despite everything, Alice felt herself smile. The next few days fell into a strange rhythm. Alice saw her regular patients during the day, Mrs. Chen's arthritic terrier, the Morrison family's cat with diabetes, a steady stream of routine vaccinations and checkups. Between appointments, she'd slip into the back room where the wolf waited. He still wouldn't eat unless she was there. By day 3, Alice started bringing her lunch back and sitting on the floor beside his kennel, eating her sandwich while he ate his food. You know, she said on the 4th day, you're going to have to tell me what happened. Somehow. The wolf lifted his head from his paws, ears perked forward. Alice had been thinking about this problem constantly. She pulled out a marker board she sometimes used to show pet owners their animals' treatment plans. Can you understand me when I ask yes or no questions? The wolf blinked once. Okay, 1 blink for yes. Is that right? 1 blink. 2 blinks for no? Blink.
Blink.
Perfect. Alice sat cross-legged on the floor, marker in hand. Let's start simple. Were you human before this happened?
Blink.
Were you shot by someone you knew? A pause. Then blink. Did they trap you in this form on purpose? Blink. His eyes held such pain that Alice had to look away for a moment. Is there a way to reverse it? Ash hesitated, then gave a small, uncertain head tilt. You don't know, Alice interpreted. Okay, that's okay. We'll figure it out together. She paused, studying him. There was something about the way he carried himself, even injured and trapped. Were you important? In your pack. Ash went very still. Then slowly he blinked once. A leader? Another blink, but this time his whole body seemed to radiate grief. You were supposed to be the alpha, Alice said softly, understanding flooding through her. And someone took that from you. The wolf turned his head away, but not before Alice saw something that looked like shame in his eyes. That night, after all her staff had gone home and the clinic was quiet, Alice brought the wolf out of the kennel. He was healing faster than any animal she'd ever treated, another sign of his supernatural nature, and he could walk without limping now. Come on, she said, opening the back door to her small fenced yard. You need real space to move. The wolf followed her outside, and for the first time, she saw him in open air. He was magnificent. Larger than any natural wolf, his coat caught the moonlight in shades of silver and charcoal. When he stretched, she could see the play of muscle under fur, the power in his frame. Even cursed, even trapped, he moved with an innate grace that spoke of strength and authority. He looked up at the moon, and Alice heard it, a howl that started deep in his chest and rose into something heartbreaking. It was loneliness given voice, pain shaped into sound. But underneath it, Alice heard something else, a call. An alpha's call, even if there was no pack to hear it. When the howl faded, the wolf sat down heavily and looked at her. In the moonlight, his eyes almost glowed. I'm sorry, Alice said quietly. I'm so sorry this happened to you. They crossed the distance between them and did something that shocked her. He pressed his massive head against her stomach, leaning into her like a dog seeking comfort. His body trembled. Without thinking, Alice sank her hands into his fur and held him. We'll fix this. I promise you. We'll find a way. Gentle, hopeful music. 2 weeks passed. Alice converted her supply closet into a research station, covering the walls with printouts about lycanthropy, curses, and supernatural medicine. She called in favors from old veterinary school friends, asking vague questions about treating exotic animals. She spent every spare moment reading folklore and mythology, paying special attention to anything about alpha wolves and pack hierarchies. The wolf became her shadow. During the day, he stayed in the back room, but Alice left the kennel door open. He'd watch her through the doorway as she worked, his presence somehow comforting rather than concerning. At night, they'd go to her small yard, and the wolf would pace the fence line while Alice read to him from her research. But something else was happening too. Alice started noticing other wolves. They appeared at the edge of the woods behind her clinic, always at dusk or dawn. Never approaching, just watching. 3 of them, 2 females and a male, all with the same intelligent eyes as the one she saved. "Storm," she said one evening, pointing to the tree line. "Do you know them?" Ash's entire body went rigid. He stared at the wolves, and they stared back. After a long moment, he blinked once. "Are they from your pack?" Blink. "Are they dangerous?" Ash paused, then blinked twice.
No.
"Are they waiting for you?" Another pause. Then blink. Alice's throat tightened. "They want you to come back. To lead them." The wolf looked at her, and in his eyes, she saw conflict. Yearning and fear, hope and shame, all tangled together. "Listen to this," she said one evening, holding up a book. "It says werewolves trapped in animal form are usually victims of blood curses, magic cast by family members. The curse feeds on the victim's humanity, keeping them locked in their wolf form." She looked up. "But there's more. It says alpha wolves are particularly vulnerable to these curses because their power makes them threats. Trapping an alpha in wolf form doesn't just silence them, it prevents them from leading their pack." The wolf went very still. "Storm? Was it a family member who did this to you?"
Blink.
"Someone close?"
Blink.
"Your pack?" Blink. Alice's throat tightened. "Someone who wanted to be alpha instead of you?" The wolf eyes closed, and a low, mournful sound escaped him. She breathed. "Your own family stole your position." The wolf turned away, staring at the fence. His tail was low, his whole body radiating misery. Alice wanted to ask more. Who? Why? What had he done to deserve this? But she could see he'd had enough for one night. Instead, she sat down on the grass beside him. "My family didn't understand why I became a vet," she said quietly. "They wanted me to be a doctor, a real doctor," they said. As if animals don't matter. As if healing isn't healing, regardless of the species. The wolf ear swiveled toward her, listening. "I haven't spoken to my father in 5 years. Because he told me I was wasting my life on lesser creatures." Alice laughed bitterly. "Family can hurt us worse than anyone else. They know exactly where to aim." The wolf made a low sound, not quite a whine, more like acknowledgement, and carefully, slowly, he lay down beside her. His warm weight pressed against her side. They sat like that until the stars came out, 2 outcasts finding comfort in shared silence. And at the edge of the woods, 3 wolves kept their vigil, waiting for the alpha who couldn't answer their call. The attack came on a Tuesday. Alice was closing up the clinic at 7 p.m., ushering out her last patient, a beagle with an ear infection, when she heard the crash of breaking glass from the waiting room. Her blood went cold. Ash was in the back room. If someone found him. 6 wolves burst through her front door. They moved like soldiers, spreading through the waiting room with terrifying coordination. These were predators with a plan. And Alice recognized the formation, a pack hunting party, organized and deadly. She barely had time to process what she was seeing before the largest wolf, a massive creature with a scarred muzzle and eyes that burned with cold intelligence, fixed its gaze on her and smiled. Actually smiled, lips pulling back to show teeth in an expression that was hideously human. She did the only thing she could think of. She ran. "Storm!" she screamed, slamming through the door to the back room.
Hide. Now.
He was already on his feet, growling. He'd heard them coming. But Alice saw something else in his posture, recognition. And rage. The cellar, Alice gasped, yanking open the trapdoor to her small basement storage area. Please, you have to. He hesitated, his body tense. For a moment, Alice thought he might refuse, might stand and fight. Then his eyes met hers, and she saw the calculation there. He couldn't fight in this form.
Couldn't shift.
Couldn't lead. He jumped down into the darkness. Alice dropped the door closed and kicked a storage bin over it just as the backroom door exploded inward. The scarred wolf entered first, and as Alice watched in horror, it began to change. Bones cracked and reformed, fur receded, and within seconds, a man stood before her. He was tall, heavily muscled, with the same scars across his face that the wolf had carried. But more than that, he radiated authority. False authority, Alice thought. The kind that came from fear rather than respect. Dr. Martinez, he said, his voice rough as gravel. We're looking for Ashton. Not to confuse you. He's a wolf, not a man. This is private property, Alice said, trying to keep her voice steady. Get out before I call the police. The man left. The other wolves had followed him in, circling Alice like sharks. We're not here for human law. We're here for a traitor. A wolf who ran from his pack and his responsibilities. A coward who was supposed to be alpha but proved too weak to lead. Alice's heart pounded. I don't know what you're talking about. In one fluid motion, the man crossed the room and had his hand around Alice's throat. She was lifted off her feet, her vision immediately starting to darken as his grip tightened. Don't
lie
to me. His eyes shifted to yellow, still half-wolf. I can smell him all over this place. His scent is on you, on everything. My brother's scent. Brother. Oh, God. He carries our pack's secrets, the man continued, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. Information that could destroy everything I've built. When we find him, and we will, he'll beg for death before I'm done. And he'll never be alpha. Never lead anything again. He dropped Alice and she collapsed, gasping. You know what the real joke is? The man crouched down, his scarred face inches from hers. He could have had everything. The pack was his. Everyone looked up to him. But he found out about our little side business and suddenly grew a conscience. Threatened to expose us to the council. My own brother, choosing outsiders over blood. You were trafficking, Alice choked out. We were surviving, making the pack strong, wealthy, powerful. But Ash couldn't see that. So I had to make a choice. Let him destroy everything, or remove him from the equation. The curse was almost poetic, don't you think? The alpha who couldn't lead, trapped as a wolf who couldn't even speak. He stood, already turning away. You have until the next full moon. Find him and turn him over, or we come back and finish what we started. And trust me, Doctor, you don't want to see what we do to humans who harbor traitors to the pack. The wolves began systematically destroying her clinic. Examination tables overturned, cabinets emptied, files scattered everywhere. Alice could only watch, still trying to breathe, as they tore apart everything she'd built. And then, as quickly as they'd come, they were gone, disappearing into the dusk like smoke. Alice waited a full 5 minutes before she moved. Then she crawled to the cellar door and pulled it open. Storm? It's okay, they're gone. He emerged slowly, his whole body trembling with barely contained rage. But when he saw Alice's bruised throat, the rage transformed into something else.
Grief. Guilt.
And underneath it all, shame. The shame of an alpha who couldn't protect. He approached her carefully and pressed his nose to her neck, whining softly. I'm okay, Alice said, but her voice cracked. Ashton, that's your real name? He blinked just once just to answer her question. Nice name. I guess I have a real name to call you now. That man. He said he was your brother. He said you were supposed to be alpha. Ash pulled back, and in his eyes, she saw confirmation, and a depth of betrayal that made her heart ache. What did you discover? Alice asked softly. Ash paced in a tight circle, agitated. Then he did something unexpected. He went to her scattered research materials and started pushing them around with his nose, searching for something specific. Finally, he found it, a page about supernatural artifact trafficking. He placed his paw on it deliberately. Alice's eyes widened. Your pack was trafficking illegal supernatural artifacts.
Blink.
And you found out. You were going to expose them.
Blink.
So your brother cursed you. Not just to silence you, but to take your place as alpha. Ash sat down heavily, and the weight of everything seemed to crash over him. He let out a sound that was half howl, half sob, the most heartbreaking thing Alice had ever heard. It was the cry of a leader who'd failed his pack, a brother betrayed by blood, an alpha stripped of everything that defined him. She knelt beside him, ignoring her own pain, and wrapped her arms around his neck. You did the right thing. You tried to stop something wrong, and he punished you for it. But you're still an alpha, Ash. Curse or no curse, that doesn't change who you are inside. Ash leaned into her embrace, and Alice felt hot tears soaking into his fur. Her tears. We have until the full moon, she said, pulling back to look at him. That's 3 weeks. We're going to break this curse. You're going to get your voice back, your human form back. And then you're going to take back what's yours. Your position, your pack, your life. Alice threw herself into research with an obsession that bordered on madness. She closed the clinic for renovations, using the time to scour every resource she could find. She drove 6 hours to consult with a folklore professor at the state university, making up a story about writing a novel. She spent thousands of dollars on rare books from occult dealers. The 3 wolves from the woods grew bolder. They started appearing during the day, sitting just beyond the fence line, watching. Alice realized they were guarding them, protecting their cursed alpha from his brother's pack. One evening, she brought food out to them. They didn't run. Instead, the largest female approached the fence, sniffed the air, and then did something remarkable. She bowed her head in a gesture of respect. Not to Alice, but to Ash standing behind her. They're still loyal to you, Alice said softly. Even like this, they know you're their alpha. Ash watched his wolves with such longing it hurt to see. He wanted to go to them, to lead them, to be what they needed. But he was trapped, unable to shift, unable to command, unable to be the alpha they deserved. And finally, in a crumbling text she'd purchased from an antique shop in Salem, Alice found it. Ash, she breathed, her hands shaking as she read. I found something. A counter-curse. Ash was at her side immediately, his eyes locked on the page. Alice read aloud. Blood curses can be broken through willing sacrifice. The curse breaker must share the pain, share the blood, and share the life force of the cursed. Through union of spirit, the dark magic can be severed. For alpha wolves, the ritual is especially dangerous. The curse feeds on their power, growing stronger with each day they remain trapped. The human who attempts this sacrifice may not survive. She looked up at Ash. It's dangerous. Especially because you're an alpha, the curse is stronger. But, Ash, it's the only way I've found. Ash immediately started shaking his head, backing away. Wait, let me finish. The ritual has to be performed under a full moon. Ash bumped her hand with his nose, hard, then sat down between her and the book. Refusing. Ash, I know it's risky. He barked. Actually barked at her, his eyes fierce. Alice felt her own temper rise. So, what, you're just going to stay a wolf forever? Let your brother win? Let him keep being alpha while you watch from the shadows? Let him keep trafficking illegal artifacts and hurting people? Ash growled, but it wasn't threatening. It was frustrated. Protective. I'm not asking your permission, Alice said firmly. I'm telling you what we're going to do. Those wolves out there? They need you. Not your brother, you. The real alpha. The one who chose conscience over convenience. I didn't pull 3 silver bullets out of your body and patch you up for the past month just to watch you give up now. Ash stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something he'd never done before. He shifted his weight and placed his head in her lap, looking up at her with those heartbreaking yellow eyes. Submitting. An alpha. Submitting to a human's will because he trusted her that much. I know you're scared, Alice said more softly, stroking his fur. I'm terrified too. But we don't have a choice. Your brother is coming back, and when he does, if you're still trapped, he'll kill us both. And those wolves who've been waiting for you, they'll have no one. Ash closed his eyes. Trust me, Alice whispered. Like I've trusted you. And after this is over, you're going to be the alpha you were always meant to be. The next 2 weeks were a blur of preparation. Alice gathered the materials the ritual required, specific herbs, blessed salt, candles arranged in precise patterns. She practiced the incantation until she could recite it in her sleep. She also spent time with the 3 wolves at the fence, learning their names through Ash's yes or no blinks. Maya, the large female, Kira, the smaller female, and Darius, the male. They were Ash's most loyal packmates, the ones who'd refused to follow Marcus. They've been living as rogues since you were cursed, Alice told Ash one night. Waiting.
Hoping.
They never accepted Marcus as their alpha. Ash watched his wolves through the fence, and Alice could see the weight of responsibility settling on him. These 3 had sacrificed everything to stay loyal. Others in the pack had submitted to Marcus out of fear, but these 3 had held out.
For him.
She also called her friend Melissa, another vet she'd gone to school with. I need you to promise me something, Alice said on the phone. If anything happens to me, Alice, what the hell is going on? Just promise. There are documents in my safe deposit box. Instructions. If I don't contact you by next Friday, you open that box and follow what it says. You're scaring me, Melissa. Please. A long pause. Okay, I promise. But you better call me Friday. Alice hung up, hoping she'd be able to keep that promise. The night before the full moon, Alice found herself unable to sleep. She went to the back room where Ash was lying in his usual corner. He wasn't sleeping either. Through the window, she could see Maya, Kira, and Darius keeping watch. Big day tomorrow, she said, sitting down beside him. Ash huffed softly. I've been thinking, Alice continued, about what happens after. If this works, when this works, you're going to be human again. You'll have your voice back, your hands, your ability to shift at will, your power as an alpha. Ash turned his head to look at her. Those wolves out there need you. The pack needs you. Your brother has corrupted everything your family built. You're going to have to take it back, challenge him, rebuild it all. That's a huge responsibility. Ash made a low sound, pressing closer to her side. I just want you to know, Alice said softly, that whatever happens tomorrow, it's been an honor knowing you. Even trapped, even cursed, you're the kindest soul I've ever met. You're going to be an incredible alpha, Ash. Not like your brother. You'll lead with compassion instead of fear. And that's going to make all the difference. Ash pressed his head against her shoulder, and they sat in comfortable silence, 2 beings on the edge of something that would either save them or destroy them both. The full moon rose at exactly 8:47 p.m. Alice had converted her largest examination room into a ritual space. Salt lines formed a perfect circle, candles burned at the cardinal points, and herbs smoked in a small brazier. Outside, Maya, Kira, and Darius kept vigil, their presence a silent promise. Whatever happened, their alpha would not face this alone. Ash stood at the center of the circle, watching Alice with apprehensive eyes. Even now, even trapped, he carried himself like an alpha, head high, shoulders squared, ready to face whatever came. Ash sat down deliberately, his eyes never leaving hers. He wasn't going anywhere. Alice stepped into the circle and knelt before him. Okay, here we go. She recited the ancient words first, letting them fill the space. The air immediately changed, becoming thick and electric. The candle flames bent sideways even though there was no wind. Outside, the 3 wolves began to howl, not in fear, but in solidarity. An alpha's guard, lending their strength to their leader. Then came the blood. Alice pressed the blade to her palm, wincing as it cut deep. Blood welled up, dark in the candlelight. She held her hand out to Ash. Your turn. Ash extended his paw. Alice made a small, careful cut on his pad, and his blood, darker than hers, almost black with the curse's taint, mixed with her own. The moment their blood touched, Alice felt it.
Pain.
Unimaginable pain. It was like being torn apart from the inside out. The curse was alive, she realized with horror. It was a living thing, a parasite that had burrowed into Ash's soul, and now it sensed a threat. It fought back with everything it had. But this wasn't just any curse. This was an alpha's curse, fed by stolen power, grown fat on Ash's authority and strength. It had been devouring his ability to lead, his capacity to protect, his very identity as an alpha for months. And it didn't want to let go. Alice heard herself screaming, but the sound seemed distant. Her vision went white, then black, then filled with visions that weren't hers, memories of Ash's life. She saw him as a young man, training to be alpha, learning to lead with wisdom instead of force. Saw him discovering the warehouse full of illegal artifacts, his horror as he realized what his brother had become. Saw him reaching for his phone to call the supernatural council. And then she saw the curse being cast. His brother's face twisted with rage and betrayal, chanting words in a language Alice didn't know. Marcus's hand glowing with stolen magic, power ripped from dark artifacts. Saw Ash collapse as magic like black lightning struck him. Saw him try to shift back to human form and fail, trapped, screaming silently as not just his humanity, but his very alpha nature was locked away. Saw his pack watching, some in horror, others in fear, as Marcus declared himself the new alpha. The curse fed on that pain. Fed on Ash's isolation, his inability to lead, his failure to protect those who depended on him. It was a leech, growing fatter with every day Ash spent trapped and helpless while his brother corrupted everything he'd built. And now it was trying to feed on Alice. She felt her life force being pulled out of her body, being channeled into the curse's dark hunger. The curse was trying to use her as a new food source, trying to anchor itself even deeper. Her heart stuttered. Her vision darkened at the edges. Blood began to drip from her nose. This was it. This was where she died.
No.
Outside, Maya, Kira, and Darius howled louder, their voices rising in an ancient pack song. They were lending their strength, their loyalty, their faith in their alpha. And Alice felt it, a surge of power that wasn't hers, wasn't Ash's, but belonged to the bond between alpha and pack. Through the pain, through the darkness, Alice found her voice. She kept reciting the incantation, forcing each word out even as she felt herself dying. She poured everything she had into breaking the curse, her strength, her will, her absolute refusal to let Ash stay trapped. To let a good leader remain chained while a corrupt one reigned. You are free. Alice gasped out the final words. Light exploded from Ash's body. The curse shattered like glass, its hold breaking with a sound like thunder. The backlash hit Alice like a physical blow, and she collapsed, her body convulsing as the last threads of dark magic burned through her system. She was dimly aware of the circle breaking, of someone catching her before she hit the floor. Human hands. And outside, 3 wolves erupted in howls of triumph. Their alpha had returned. Stay with me, a male voice begged, rough with emotion and power, the unmistakable resonance of an alpha's command. Please, please stay with me. Did it work? Alice managed to whisper.
Yes.
God, yes, it worked. But Alice, you're bleeding.
She was.
Blood from her nose, her ears. The curse's final revenge. Worth it, Alice breathed. Go, to your wolves, they've been waiting. Not until I know you're okay. Not until, Alice? Alice. Her eyes drifted closed, and darkness claimed her. Somber, worried music with underlying hope. Alice woke to sunlight, the sound of steady breathing, and low voices speaking in tones too quiet for her to make out words. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she was or why her entire body felt like it had been hit by a truck. Then memory came flooding back. The ritual, the pain, Ash's transformation. You're awake. Alice turned her head, and for the first time, she saw him. Really saw him. Ash sat in the chair beside her exam table, looking exhausted and worried and gloriously, beautifully human. He had dark hair that fell across his forehead, sharp cheekbones, and those same unforgettable yellow eyes, but now they held something new. Confidence. Authority. The unmistakable bearing of an alpha restored. He was wrapped in a blanket, probably because he'd been naked when he shifted back, and his hands were clasped together so tightly his knuckles were white. But 3 wolves lay at his feet. Maya, Kira, and Darius, finally able to be close to their alpha again. His expression crumbled with relief. You've been unconscious for 3 days. 3 days. I thought, his voice broke. I thought I'd killed you. Not dead, Alice said. Significantly worse for wear, but not dead. Ash laughed, and the sound was incredible. Human laughter, rich with an alpha's deep resonance. She'd never heard it from him before. You saved me, he said, his eyes bright with unshed tears. You almost died, and you saved me anyway. You gave me back everything. My voice, my form, my ability to lead.
Yeah, well.
Alice tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Ash was at her side in an instant, helping her with a gentleness that belied his obvious strength. I'm stubborn that way. Also, I really hate seeing patients suffer. I'm not a patient. Not anymore. He gestured to the 3 wolves at his feet. Alice, me my pack. Or what's left of the loyal ones. Maya, Kira, Darius, this is Dr. Alice Martinez. The woman who saved your alpha's life. The 3 wolves approached carefully. Maya came first, pressing her nose gently to Alice's hand in a gesture of profound respect. Kira and Darius followed, and Alice felt the weight of their gratitude, their relief. Their alpha was back. There are others, Ash said quietly, his hand still supporting Alice's back. Pack members who submitted to Marcus out of fear, not loyalty. They've been reaching out since I shifted back. Word travels fast in the supernatural community. They want to know if I'm reclaiming my position. Are you? Alice asked. Ash's jaw tightened. I don't know if I deserve to. I let Marcus corrupt everything. I didn't see what he was becoming until it was too late. That's not failure, Alice said firmly. That's called having a conscience. Your brother hid what he was doing because he knew you'd stop him. You can't blame yourself for trusting family. But the pack. The pack has been waiting for you for months. These 3 risked everything to stay loyal. Others are reaching out. Ash, they know the difference between a leader who rules through fear and one who leads with integrity. They want you back. Ash looked at his 3 wolves, then back at Alice. It's a lot of responsibility. Rebuilding a pack, undoing my brother's corruption, establishing proper leadership again. And I need to challenge him formally. Face him in front of the Supernatural Council. Prove I'm the rightful alpha. Can you do that? Challenge him. A slow smile spread across Ash's face, and for the first time, Alice saw the alpha he was meant to be. Confident, powerful, certain. Oh yes. Now that I can shift, now that I have my voice back, Marcus doesn't stand a chance. He only won before because he cursed me before I could fight back. In a fair challenge, he knows he'd lose. That's why he had to trap me. Your brother, Alice said slowly, realizing. He'll be back in 4 days, Ash confirmed, his expression hardening. But he's not going to find what he's expecting. While you were recovering, I've been busy. I documented everything, every transaction, every artifact, every crime. I've contacted the Supernatural Council, and I've been gathering the pack members who want to return to proper leadership. How many? 17 so far. The others are either too deep in Marcus's operation or too scared to make a move yet. But 17 is enough to challenge his authority, especially with these 3. He looked down at Maya, Kira, and Darius with obvious affection. They're my betas, my most trusted. They held the faith when everyone else gave up. Maya shifted, and Alice watched in amazement as the wolf transformed into a woman with long dark hair and fierce eyes. We never gave up, Alpha, she said, her voice strong. We knew you'd come back to us. Alice, Ash said, Maya is my second in command. When I was cursed, Marcus tried to force her to submit to him. She refused and went rogue instead. You should have submitted, Alice said gently. You could have been safe. Maya's laugh was sharp. Safe under a corrupt alpha? I'd rather be rogue. Besides, Ash earned my loyalty years ago. He's the one who found me when I was a young wolf, lost and alone. He taught me what it meant to be pack. I wasn't about to abandon him just because he was cursed. The emotion in the room was palpable. Alice could see the bond between them. Not romantic, but something deeper. The bond of alpha and beta, leader and devoted follower, forged through years of trust and respect. The council is sending representatives, Ash continued. They're very interested in Marcus's operation. And in me. An alpha returning from a curse this powerful. It's apparently unprecedented. They want to meet with me, verify my identity, and oversee the challenge if I decide to make one. If. Alice raised an eyebrow. Ash, you just said. I want to make sure you're okay first, Ash said quietly. You nearly died for me, Alice. The pack can wait a few more days while you recover. They've waited this long. The pack needs you now, Alice argued. Every day Marcus leads them is another day he corrupts them further, gets them deeper into illegal activities, puts them at risk. You can't wait for me. I can, and I will. There was steel in his voice, the unmistakable tone of an alpha who'd made a decision. Alice felt a shiver run down her spine. This was what he'd been before the curse, a leader who made hard choices and stood by them. Stubborn wolf, she muttered. Stubborn human, he countered, but he was smiling. The Supernatural Council representatives arrived the next day. Alice was finally able to stand on her own, though she still felt weak. Ash had barely left her side, and his 3 betas had maintained a constant presence, rotating guard duty even though they were inside the clinic. They're protective of you, Alice observed as Maya checked the windows for the 3rd time that hour. You're important to our alpha, Maya said simply. That makes you important to us. And anyone who'd sacrifice themselves to break his curse deserves our protection. The representatives were impressive and intimidating in equal measure. The leader was the same silver-haired woman who'd overseen other supernatural cases. Her name, Alice learned, was Counselor Vera. She was ancient, powerful, and her eyes missed nothing. Ashton Donovan, she said, studying Ash with an intensity that would have made most people squirm. The lost alpha. We'd heard rumors that Marcus had done something to you, but we had no proof. Curses that strong are nearly impossible to trace without the victim's cooperation. I couldn't exactly cooperate while trapped as a wolf, Ash said dryly. No, you couldn't. Which is why your brother's crimes are so severe. Vera's gaze shifted to Alice. And you must be Dr. Martinez, the human who broke an alpha's blood curse. That's remarkable. And incredibly foolish. I've been told I'm stubborn, Alice said. Vera's lips twitched. I can see why he values you. She turned back to Ash. We've been investigating your brother's operation since your documentation arrived. What we've found is extensive: trafficking in dark artifacts, unauthorized use of blood magic, corruption of pack structure, and attempted murder. Marcus is facing multiple life sentences in supernatural detention. Good, Ash said flatly. However, there's the matter of pack leadership. Your brother has declared himself alpha and has held that position for nearly 6 months. Under supernatural law, you have the right to challenge him for the position, especially given that he obtained it through illegal means. But Ashton. Vera's expression softened slightly. Are you certain you want this? Being an alpha isn't just about power. It's responsibility. It's endless decisions, conflicts, politics. You've been through tremendous trauma. No one would blame you if you chose to walk away. Let the council assign a neutral alpha to rebuild the pack. Alice held her breath. This was it, the moment Ash would have to decide who he wanted to be. Ash looked at Maya, Kira, and Darius. Then at Alice. Then back at Vera. When he spoke, his voice was steady and sure. 6 months ago, I would have walked away. I was so focused on stopping my brother's crimes that I didn't see what was happening to the pack itself. They were being corrupted, led into darkness, and I was so busy trying to do the right thing that I abandoned them when they needed me most. You are cursed, Maya protested. You didn't abandon. Ash held up a hand. Let me finish. I've had 3 days to think about this. About what kind of leader I want to be. My brother ruled through fear and greed. He made the pack wealthy, but destroyed their honor. I don't want to be that kind of alpha. But I also don't want to be the alpha I was before, so focused on rules and righteousness that I missed what was happening to my own family. He straightened, and Alice saw the transformation. Not physical, he didn't shift, but something deeper. The emergence of the leader he'd been meant to become all along. I want to challenge Marcus. Not for revenge, though I won't lie and say I don't want that too, but for the pack. They deserve an alpha who leads with both strength and compassion. Someone who'll protect them without corrupting them. And I want to build something new, a pack that doesn't just survive, but actually helps the supernatural community. We have power. We should use it for good. Vera studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Very well. The challenge will take place in 3 days, under the full moon. It will be a traditional alpha challenge, witnessed, binding, and absolute. The winner leads the pack. The loser, well, given your brother's crimes, the loser goes to detention regardless. Understood. There's one more thing, Vera said. Dr. Martinez, your actions in breaking the curse, while impressive, technically violated several supernatural laws regarding human interference in pack business. However, given the circumstances and the fact that you saved an innocent life, the Council is willing to overlook this, provided you agree to serve as the pack's official medical consultant. Alice blinked. I'm sorry, what? Packs need medical care, Vera explained. But most supernatural creatures don't trust human doctors, and supernatural healers are rare and expensive. You've already proven you can treat werewolves. You have Ash's trust and the loyalty of his betas. And frankly, we'd like someone outside the pack structure keeping an eye on things. Making sure the new alpha doesn't follow his brother's path. You want me to spy on him? I want you to be a check on his power, Vera corrected. Alphas need people who can tell them when they're wrong. People they trust. People who've proven they care more about doing right than about politics or hierarchy. Based on what I've seen, Dr. Martinez, you're that person. Alice looked at Ash. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Hope, maybe? Uncertainty? What do you think? She asked him. I think, Ash said slowly, that I nearly lost myself to my brother's corruption once already. Having someone I trust, someone outside the pack hierarchy, someone who's proven she'll risk everything for what's right. Yeah, I'd like that.
But only if you want it, Alice.
This isn't a small commitment. It would mean being tied to the pack, to me, to all of this permanently. Alice thought about her quiet life before Ash had appeared. Her normal veterinary practice, her simple routine, her safe, predictable existence. Then she thought about the past month. The challenge, the danger, the moments of profound connection with a cursed wolf who'd needed her. The 3 loyal betas who'd waited in the woods. The pack members reaching out, desperate for their real alpha to return. The chance to help an entire community of supernatural creatures who had nowhere else to turn. I want it, she said. On one condition. Name it, Vera said. The clinic becomes a sanctuary site. Any supernatural creature can seek medical care here without fear of political consequences. Pack business stays pack business, but when someone walks through my door injured or sick, they're my patient first. Agreed.
Vera smiled.
Agreed. I'll have the paperwork drawn up. After the council representatives left, Ash pulled Alice aside. His 3 betas tactfully gave them space, moving to the other side of the clinic. Are you sure about this? He asked quietly. It's going to change everything. Your practice, your life, your safety. Marcus has allies who might come after you once they know you're affiliated with me. Are you trying to talk me out of it? I'm making sure you know what you're getting into. His hand came up to cup her cheek, and Alice felt the warmth of his palm, the slight tremor that betrayed his nervousness. Alice, when I was trapped, You were the only light in the darkness. You saw me, really saw me, when I was at my lowest. I don't want to drag you further into my world if it's going to hurt you. Ash, Alice said, covering his hand with hers. I'm already in your world. I have been since the moment I opened that door. And I don't want to leave. I want to see what you build. I want to help. And maybe, she hesitated, then pushed forward. Maybe I want to see where this goes. Us. Us, Ash repeated, and his smile was like sunrise. I was hoping you'd say that. He leaned down and kissed her. It was soft and tentative and perfect, the first kiss of their new beginning. From across the clinic, Maya made a sound that might have been approval. Kira and Darius were definitely grinning, their wolf forms doing that panting thing that looked like laughter. When they broke apart, Alice was smiling. Your betas are watching. They're protective. And nosy. Mostly nosy. I heard that, Maya called. Alice laughed, and it felt good. Despite everything, the pain, the danger, the massive changes coming, it felt right. Music builds with anticipation. The next 3 days were a whirlwind of preparation. Pack members began arriving at the clinic, cautiously at first, then with growing confidence as word spread that their true alpha had returned. Alice watched Ash with each of them, seeing the leader he was meant to be emerge more fully with every interaction. He was firm but fair, listening to their concerns about Marcus's leadership while not allowing them to simply badmouth his brother. He asked questions about their lives, their struggles, their hopes for the pack's future. He made it clear that if he won the challenge, things would change. No more illegal activity, no more ruling through fear, but also no more easy money from trafficking. Some pack members left after those conversations, choosing to stay with Marcus. But most stayed, their loyalty solidifying with every hour they spent around Ash. Alice treated several of them for injuries they'd sustained under Marcus's rule. Punishment for questioning orders, wounds from dangerous jobs, stress-related illnesses from constant fear. Each case made her angrier at what Marcus had done to these people. He broke them, she told Ash one evening as they watched the pack members settling in around the clinic grounds. Maya had organized them into a proper encampment, establishing watch rotations and hierarchy. Not just you. All of them. Which is why I have to win, Ash said. Not for revenge, but to start healing them. The night before the challenge, Alice found Ash outside, staring at the moon. Tomorrow, it would be full. Tomorrow, everything would be decided. Nervous? She asked, joining him. Terrified, he admitted. What if I'm not the alpha they need? What if I've changed too much from being cursed? What if? Ash. Alice took his hand. You're going to be amazing. You know why? Why? Because you're scared. Because you're questioning yourself. Because you care more about doing right by them than about your own power. That's what makes a good alpha. Not fearlessness, wisdom. Not certainty, compassion. Ash pulled her into his arms, holding her close. How did I get so lucky? Collapsing on the doorstep of the one human who'd not only save my life but also believe in me. Fate, Alice suggested. Really good instincts while dying. He laughed against her hair. All of the above. They stood like that, wrapped around each other under the almost full moon, until Maya approached. Alpha, she said respectfully. The pack is asking for you. They want to hear you speak. To really hear you, as their alpha before tomorrow. Ash looked at Alice, and she nodded. Go. They need this. Alice watched as Ash walked to where the pack had gathered. 23 wolves now, more had arrived throughout the day, drawn by the news that their true alpha was calling for a challenge. They formed a circle, sitting in the traditional pack formation, with the betas closest to where Ash stood. He didn't shift. He stayed human, standing tall in the center of their circle. I know many of you are afraid, Ash began, his voice carrying with that subtle resonance of alpha command. My brother has ruled through fear for 6 months. He's hurt some of you, threatened others, made you complicit in crimes you never wanted to commit. And you're wondering if following me will just bring more pain. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the pack. I can't promise that following me will be easy, Ash continued. I can't promise we'll be wealthy, like we were under Marcus. What I can promise is that I will never ask you to compromise your honor. I will never punish you for questioning me. I will never use your loyalty as a weapon against you. He turned slowly, meeting the eyes of each pack member. I failed you once. I saw what my brother was becoming and I tried to handle it alone. I should have come to you, should have trusted you to stand with me against corruption. Instead, I got cursed, and you suffered for my pride. That wasn't your fault, someone called out. Maybe not, but the result was the same. You were left without proper leadership, and Marcus took advantage of that. So here's what I'm promising now. If you choose me tomorrow, if I win the challenge, I will never make decisions alone again. I will listen to my betas. I will take counsel from the pack. And yes, his gaze found Alice. I will listen to those outside our pack who can see things we might miss. What about the money? Another voice asked. Marcus made us rich. Marcus made us criminals, Ash corrected firmly. And that money came with a price, your safety, your honor, your freedom. The council could have arrested all of us as accomplices. They still might, for those who continue to follow Marcus. Is that what you want? Wealth today and prison tomorrow? Silence. I won't lie to you. We'll have to work harder under my leadership. But we'll work honestly. We'll rebuild our reputation in the supernatural community as a pack of integrity. We'll offer protection services, security consulting, even medical support now that we have Dr. Martinez. He smiled slightly. We'll be known for helping people, not exploiting them. And that reputation will bring its own rewards. What if you lose tomorrow? The question came from a young wolf, barely more than a teenager. Ash's expression softened. Then you'll have a choice. Stay with Marcus and accept what that means, or leave the pack and find your own path. But I don't plan on losing. Marcus only won before, because he cursed me before I could challenge him properly. Tomorrow, we face each other fairly. And I promise you, I'm going to win. The certainty in his voice sent shivers down Alice's spine. This was an alpha speaking, claiming his rightful place. Maya stood. I stand with Ashton Donovan as his second. He is my alpha, now and always. Kira and Darius rose as well. We stand with our alpha. One by one, the pack members stood, pledging their loyalty. Not all of them. 5 remained seated, clearly still uncertain or loyal to Marcus. But 18 wolves stood for Ash, and the sound of their unified howl was deafening. Alice felt tears on her cheeks. This was what he'd been meant for. This was why the curse had been so devastating, not just because it trapped him, but because it had stolen this from him. The ability to lead, to inspire, to unite his people. When the howls faded, Ash's eyes found hers across the distance. And in that moment, Alice knew. Tomorrow, he would win. He had to, because this pack needed him, and Ash had never been able to walk away from someone who needed him. The challenge took place in a clearing 20 miles from the clinic, on neutral ground overseen by the Supernatural Council. Counselor Vera presided, flanked by 4 other council members and a dozen enforcers to maintain order. Marcus arrived with his loyal followers, 14 wolves who'd chosen to remain with him despite everything. They looked uneasy, Alice noticed. They'd heard about Ash's return, about the curse being broken. Some looked frankly terrified. Marcus himself looked enraged. When he saw Ash, human, whole, surrounded by pack members, his face contorted with fury. Impossible, he snarled. That curse was bloodbound. It couldn't be broken. It was, Ash said calmly, stepping forward. Thanks to someone with more courage than you'll ever understand. Marcus's eyes found Alice, standing with Maya and the other betas. The human. You let a human break pack magic. I let someone who cared about me save my life, Ash corrected. Something you clearly can't comprehend, caring about someone more than you care about power. You always were weak, Marcus spat. Sentimental.
Soft.
That's why I had to take over. The pack needed a real alpha, not someone who'd throw away everything for moral high ground. The pack needed a leader who wouldn't turn them into criminals, Ash shot back. But we're not here to debate philosophy, Marcus. I'm here to challenge you for the position of Alpha. And you're going to accept, because you know if you don't, the council will remove you anyway, and you'll look like a coward in front of everyone. Marcus's smile was ugly. Oh, I accept. And when I'm done with you, little brother, you'll wish you'd stayed cursed. Counselor Vera stepped forward. The challenge is issued and accepted. The rules are simple. Shift and fight until one submits or is unable to continue. The winner becomes Alpha of the Donovan Pack. The loser? She looked at Marcus meaningfully. Given the criminal charges, the loser will be taken into council custody immediately. I understand, Marcus said. I understand, Ash echoed.
Then begin.
Both brothers shifted simultaneously. Marcus's wolf form was massive and scarred, built for intimidation. But Alice gasped as she saw him fully shifted for the first time. He was larger than Marcus, his coat that beautiful silver gray she'd come to know, but now he moved with fluid power and absolute confidence. This was an alpha in his element, whole and strong and ready to reclaim what was his. The fight was brutal. Marcus attacked first, going for Ash's throat with vicious intent. But Ash was faster, dodging and countering with precise strikes. They crashed together in a tangle of fur and fangs, rolling across the clearing. Blood sprayed, both of theirs. Alice's hands clenched at her sides. Maya placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her.
Watch.
He's winning. And he was. Despite Marcus's size and ferocity, Ash fought with strategy and skill. Every move was calculated, every dodge precise. He wasn't just fighting to win, he was demonstrating dominance, showing the assembled pack who the superior wolf was. But Marcus fought dirty. He went for old wounds, targeting the shoulder where Ash had been shot with silver. Ash yelped in pain, stumbling, and Marcus pressed his advantage with savage glee. But then, Ash did something unexpected. Instead of retreating, he used Marcus's aggression against him. He let Marcus overextend, then twisted, using his brother's momentum to flip him. Marcus crashed onto his back, and before he could recover, Ash was on him, jaws locked around his throat. Not biting down, not yet. Just holding. A clear statement. I can kill you. I choose not to. Marcus struggled for a moment, then went still. The submission was clear. Ash held him there for a long moment, making sure everyone, every wolf, every council member, every observer, saw who had won. Then he released Marcus and stepped back, shifting to human form. Marcus shifted too, lying on the ground, panting and defeated. Blood ran from multiple wounds, and his eyes held shock. He genuinely believed he would win. It's over, Ash said, his voice carrying across the clearing with alpha resonance. You're not the alpha anymore, Marcus. You never really were. You stole the position through a curse, ruled through fear and corruption, and nearly destroyed everything our family built. But it's done now. Ashton Donovan, the council recognizes you as rightful alpha of the Donovan Pack. Marcus Donovan, you are under arrest for trafficking in illegal supernatural artifacts, unauthorized use of blood magic, corruption of pack structure, and attempted murder. You will be transferred to council detention pending trial. Enforcers moved forward, binding Marcus with silver chains. As they led him away, Marcus looked back at Ash one last time. You should have killed me, he said. A real alpha would have finished it. A real alpha knows when mercy is stronger than violence, Ash replied. I hope someday you understand that, brother. I really do. Marcus was led away, and the clearing erupted in howls. Ash's pack, his rightful pack, celebrated their alpha's return. The 14 wolves who'd followed Marcus looked uncertain, but Ash approached them immediately. You're not criminals, he told them. You followed the alpha you thought was legitimate. I'm offering you a choice. Return to the pack under my leadership and help us rebuild, or leave peacefully with my blessing to find another pack. No judgment either way. Alice watched as, one by one, 12 of the 14 chose to stay. Only 2 left, and Ash let them go without protest. Then he was walking toward her, still in human form, covered in blood and victorious. His pack parted to let him through, showing respect and joy in equal measure. "I won," he said, reaching Alice. His smile was brilliant despite the exhaustion in his eyes. "I never doubted you," Alice replied. Ash pulled her into his arms, not caring that he was getting blood on her clothes, and kissed her thoroughly. The pack howled their approval, the sound carrying through the forest like music. When they broke apart, Ash turned to face his pack, keeping one arm around Alice. "This is a new beginning," he announced. "We're going to rebuild our reputation, restore our honor, and become the pack we were always meant to be. It won't be easy. There will be challenges ahead, but together we'll face them. As a pack. As family." The howls that followed shook the trees. Alice looked up at Ash, her alpha, her partner, her future, and smiled. They'd both been lost when they'd found each other. Now they were both exactly where they belonged. Hopeful conclusion. 6 months later, the transformation was complete. The clinic had expanded, taking over the building next door. One side remained Alice's veterinary practice, treating both regular animals and supernatural creatures. The other side had become pack headquarters, meeting rooms, training spaces, and living quarters for pack members who needed them. The Donovan pack had rebuilt its reputation through protection services, security consulting, and community outreach. They'd helped 3 other packs deal with internal corruption, rescued 2 young wolves from fighting rings, and established the first supernatural crisis hotline in the region. Ash was thriving as alpha. Alice watched him lead his pack with a perfect balance of strength and compassion, making decisions with a council of his betas while never shirking the ultimate responsibility. Maya had become his invaluable second, Kira headed security operations, and Darius managed the pack's finances. All honestly earned now. The pack had grown too. 35 members now, including several young wolves who'd sought them out specifically because of Ash's reputation for fair leadership. He'd also formed alliances with 3 neighboring packs, creating a network of mutual support and protection. And Alice had found her calling. She was no longer just a veterinarian. She was the pack's doctor, counselor, and voice of reason. Ash consulted her on major decisions, valued her outside perspective, and never made her feel like anything less than an equal partner despite not being a wolf herself. Their relationship had deepened too. They'd move slowly, carefully, both aware of the weight of what they were building. But 6 months in, Alice couldn't imagine her life without Ash in it. His morning coffee ritual, he made hers exactly how she liked it, his terrible jokes after long days, the way he shifted to wolf form just to curl up beside her while she read at night, all of it had become essential to her happiness. One evening, as they were closing up the clinic together, Alice noticed Ash seemed nervous. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing's wrong. There's something I want to talk to you about." "Okay." Ash took her hand, leading her outside to their small yard. The same yard where she'd first comforted him when he was cursed, where she'd made the decision to break his curse, where they'd shared their first human conversation. "Alice," he began, then stopped, laughing nervously. "I practiced this speech 17 times, and now I can't remember any of it." "Ash, you're scaring me." "Don't be scared. This is good. I hope this is good." He took both her hands. "6 months ago, you saved my life. You gave me back my humanity, my ability to lead, my future. You've stood by me through rebuilding the pack, through challenges and threats and supernatural politics. You've become essential to the pack. They trust you, respect you, come to you with problems they won't even bring to me." "Is this leading somewhere?" Alice asked, though her heart was starting to pound. "You've also become essential to me," Ash continued. "I love you, Alice. I love your stubbornness and your compassion, and the way you refuse to back down when you know you're right. I love that you see me, not just the alpha, but the man. Not just the leader, but the person who still has doubts and fears and needs someone to lean on." "I love you too," Alice said softly. "I know. You show me every day." Ash took a deep breath. In wolf culture, there's a tradition. When an alpha finds their mate, their true partner, they perform a bonding ceremony. It's more than marriage in the human sense. It's a joining of lives, of futures, of souls. The alpha's mate becomes part of the pack structure, respected and protected by all pack members. They share in leadership decisions, in pack responsibility, in everything. Alice's breath caught. Ash. I'm asking you to be my mate, Alice. To bond with me, to join the pack officially, to build this life we've started together. I know it's huge. I know it means giving up parts of your human life, accepting a role in pack leadership, dealing with supernatural politics forever. But I can't imagine doing any of this without you beside me. He wasn't on one knee, that was a human custom, but his eyes held such hope and vulnerability that Alice felt tears spring to her own eyes. Yes, she said. Yes, absolutely yes. Ash's whoop of joy was pure delight. He picked her up and spun her around, laughing, and Alice couldn't help but laugh with him. When he set her down, he pulled a small box from his pocket. I got you a ring too, because I know that's important in human culture. Maya helped me pick it out. If you don't like it... Ash, shut up and show me the ring. He opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant band with a small diamond flanked by 2 moonstones. The moonstone represents the bond between human and wolf, he explained. Between your world and mine. It's perfect, Alice said, letting him slip it onto her finger. When do we do this bonding ceremony? The next full moon, if that's okay with you. The pack is already planning it. They've been hoping for this since we got together. Maya's been making contingency plans for 3 months. Of course she has, Alice laughed. They kissed as the sun set, bathing them in golden light. From inside the clinic, Alice could hear the pack members who'd been casually hanging around erupt in cheers. Privacy was apparently not a thing when you were bonding with an alpha. The bonding ceremony took place under a full moon, with the entire pack present and Counselor Vera officiating. Alice wore a simple white dress that Maya had insisted was traditional for the alpha's mate, though Alice suspected Maya might have made that up. Ash stood at the center of a circle formed by the pack, wearing dark pants and nothing else. Apparently alpha tradition required him to be partially shifted for the ceremony, maintaining his human form but with his wolf eyes visible. Alice joined him in the circle, her hand in his. This bonding is witnessed by the pack and by the moon, Vera intoned. Alice Martinez, do you understand what you're accepting? You will be bound to this alpha, to this pack for life. Their struggles will be your struggles. Their enemies will be your enemies. Their joy will be your joy. I understand, Alice said clearly. And I accept. Ashton Donovan, do you swear to honor your mate above all others? To protect her, to value her counsel, to never let your role as alpha diminish her importance? I swear, Ash said, his voice resonating with alpha power. Then by the authority vested in me by the supernatural council and by the laws of pack magic, I pronounce you bonded. Alpha and mate, now and forever. Vera placed their joined hands over a silver bowl filled with water that reflected the full moon. Speak your vows. Ash went first. Alice, you saw me at my lowest, broken, cursed, trapped. You could have turned me away. Instead, you saved me. Not just from the curse, but from giving up on myself. You reminded me what it means to lead with compassion instead of fear. You showed me that asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. His voice grew stronger, filling the circle. I vow to be worthy of the trust you placed in me, to lead our pack with the integrity you inspire, to value your voice, your wisdom, your strength, to never let my role as alpha make me forget that I'm also just a man who loves you more than anything. I vow to protect you, to cherish you, and to build a life with you that honors both our worlds. Alice's tears flowed freely now. Ash, when you came into my life, I thought I was saving you. But the truth is you saved me too. You reminded me why I became a healer, not for the easy cases but for the impossible ones. The ones everyone else gives up on. You taught me that family isn't just blood, it's the people we choose to stand beside, even when it's hard. She squeezed his hand. I vow to stand beside you always. To be your partner in everything, in leadership, in life, in building something beautiful together. I vow to see you, not just the alpha, but the man. To call you out when you're wrong, to support you when you're right, and to love you through all of it. Human or wolf, alpha or mate, I choose you. Today and always." The water in the bowl began to glow, responding to the magic of their vows. Ash and Alice watched as silver light wound around their joined hands, sinking into their skin, creating a bond that was visible to all who had the eyes to see it. Maya stepped forward, offering a ceremonial cup. The alpha's mate drinks first, accepting her place in the pack. Alice took the cup. It was filled with wine mixed with herbs that tasted like earth and moonlight, and drank. The moment she swallowed, she felt something shift inside her. Not painful, but profound. A sudden awareness of the pack members around her, their emotions, their presence. She could feel Ash's heartbeat as if it were her own. "Welcome to the pack, Alice Donovan," Maya said with a warm smile. Ash drank from the cup next, and the bond between them solidified. His eyes widened. He could feel what she felt now, the connection flowing both ways. The pack erupted in howls, celebrating their alpha's bonding. Alice found herself howling too, the sound coming naturally despite her human throat. Ash pulled her into his arms and kissed her deeply as the pack's joy washed over them in waves. When they broke apart, Ash shifted, showing off his ability to change at will now, and Alice laughed as the massive gray wolf nuzzled her face with his snout. Then he shifted back, grinning. "So, how does it feel?" he asked. "Being bonded to an alpha?" "Ask me again when I've had time to process the fact that I can feel your emotions," Alice said, though she was smiling. "Is this permanent? The feeling your heartbeat thing?" "It fades a bit over time," Maya assured her. "Right now it's intense because the bond is fresh. Eventually, you'll only feel his emotions when they're strong or when you're close to each other. But you'll always have an awareness of him, and he of you. That's..." Alice searched for words. "Actually really comforting. It means I'll know if you're in danger," Ash said quietly. "I'll be able to find you anywhere, and you'll be able to call me, even without words." "Good," Alice said firmly, "because I'm not going anywhere without you." The celebration lasted well into the night. Pack members brought food and gifts, sharing stories of their alpha and his remarkable mate. Young wolves asked Alice questions about human medicine and her work. Older wolves thanked her for saving their alpha, for giving them back their true leader. As dawn approached, Ash and Alice finally found a moment alone. They sat together on the clinic steps, watching the sun rise over their expanded territory. "This is real," Alice said softly. "Though I'm going to need to call my mother and explain why I eloped to a werewolf pack bonding ceremony without inviting her." Ash winced. "About that, Maya already called her. Your mom is coming next week. She wants to meet her wolf son-in-law, apparently." Alice laughed. "Of course Maya did. Your second is terrifyingly efficient. That's why she's my second." Ash pulled Alice closer. "Are you ready for what comes next? Running the clinic, supporting the pack, dealing with supernatural politics, being the alpha's mate." Alice looked out at the pack members settling down after the long night of celebration. She saw young wolves who'd found safety here, rescued creatures who'd found healing, pack members who'd found honest leadership after months of corruption. She saw the life they'd built together, messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. "I've never been more ready for anything," she said. "I want to say thank you for listening to this beautiful story. I'm Grace Mira, and every story you hear here is written by me, with the voices and images brought to life using AI. If you enjoyed this one, please subscribe, like, and share. Your support helps me create more lovely stories for you.